Go. All right. So what are some things that are changing at the end of World War II? There's things you may have heard about in passing. They've affected your life in a huge way, but you don't know about it. What's changing, Dana?
That women are now getting a stronger point in the workforce since the men have been gone to war.
Yes, that's certainly true. That in the post-war era, women now are having to going back home, and they're not always happy about it, and they want that workforce power that they had. Where else have things changed?
Well,
besides in gender?
Also well, some European countries were devastated by the war, so
Some European countries are devastated by war.
they're rebuilding.
Britain is not.
They're rebuilding their countries, and
Britain is not.
Germany is.
Germany is very much.
So they're like
Here's
trying
the
to
map.
rebuild their countries.
Here's a map. Here's a map. I need to turn some of the light off so that you can see this map a little bit better. Here's a map. Notice these countries have dates on them. What are the dates representing? Mauritania, 1960. Mali, 1960. Upper Volta, 1960. Nigeria, 1960.
Their independence?
Independence. What about the colors?
The place that they used to belong to.
Okay, so take a look now. This big section of Africa, from Algeria, Mauritania, Mali, Upper Volta, Niger, Chad, CAR, Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, was all French. Those people still speak French, by the way. Vietnam was French.
What's up with all them European countries being French
No, they're not.
or being?
They're not in because they weren't colonies. You notice the pink.
We are British.
The pink was all British. And well, we don't have to go back very far to see Egypt as a British colony. Israel, 1948. Prior to 1948, Israel doesn't exist. Israel doesn't exist. Jordan is a protectorate of Great Britain. Look at Burma over here. That was a real interesting thing. What's happened in Burma recently? What's happened in Burma recently? What's the story of Aung San Suu Kyi? Anything?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nobody
Name
knows
doesn't
about
even ring
that.
a bell.
Yeah.
Okay. Aung San Suu Kyi is a dissident. Burma's been run by generals for the last 30 years. She kind of courageously and kind of alone stood against the generals and managed to prevail. Burma, which the generals renamed Myanmar, was recently opened and the generals gave up power. This is almost unheard of. So Burma is now another newly independent nation, independent from itself. Things are changing. And this morning on CCTV, that's the Chinese TV station that's broadcast in English, on CCTV there was a story about meth coming in from Burma to Taiwan. Just what we would want. Burma is now an open country, so you can smuggle drugs out, smuggle meth out. But Burma was a British colony. You notice Malaysia was a British colony. The Portuguese had a very small, and the Dutch had a very small. But you see here, that was Dutch. That was Dutch. What happens when colonies stop being colonies? What happens when colonies stop being colonies?
They have their own government.
Okay, you got your own government. What else?
They have say in what's going to go on.
Yeah, they may have had a say prior to that, but now you're autonomous, right? What else happens when you stop being a colony?
Well, you lose the support a lot of times from your mother.
Joey,
nation.
follow the conversation. You might lose support from the mother country. What else might you do? Jose, what's the story of Catalonia? What happened to
Well-
Catalan? What happened to Catalan under Franco?
Under Franco,
Under Franco, what happened to the to the Catalan
I don't
language?
Oh, yeah, it got abolished and they started, well, they said like that they were not going to be able to speak Catalan.
Yep. Can't speak Catalan.
You need to speak Spanish.
You need to speak Spanish.
But like they didn't even follow. Well, back in the day they did.
Well, sort of.
Yeah,
In public,
in public, yeah.
because the language would have died if they hadn't spoken in private.
Yeah, but
What about the Catalan flag?
it wasn't like...
You're not allowed to fly it.
No.
What about today? Do you guys know guys know where Catalonia is?
Well, yeah, like Barcelona is part of Catalonia.
Barcelona is the capital. Catalonia
It's the east part of
is
southeast.
right up in here, on the Mediterranean, up towards the top.
Well, like towards the top it's also...
Is also Basque,
Yeah,
but not quite. It's not real accurate with the pointer,
yeah.
right? I mean, I can, you know. But you have this land, you have this part of Spain that under Generalissimo Franco, who ruled Spain as a dictator from just prior to World War II until the 1960s, you can't speak the Catalan language, you can't fly the flag of Catalonia, you can't do the dances of Catalonia, you can't have the customs of Catalonia, you can eat the Catalonian food, but you can't sell it as Catalonian food, you can't do anything. Why? Because Franco was opposed in Catalan, in Catalonia. So he came down hard on those people. When Franco dies, if you're Catalan, what would you do? Your enemy is now dead. What do you do?
Celebrate.
You celebrate. How do you celebrate?
Do your dances.
You do your
Your
dances.
language.
You sing your songs. You speak your language. You fly your flag. Do you like the rest of Spain?
No.
Not very much. You tolerate it, right? Because economically, you sort of need it, but not entirely.
You sort of.
You sort of need it. Barcelona is a vibrant economy. Okay, so that's what happens in Europe. What about in the rest of the world? You've been held down, you've had an overlord, now they're gone. What do? You're in Cuba. And up until 1958, Cuba is run by an American-friendly dictator, Batista. And the middle class in Cuba and the upper class in Cuba are doing very well. If you're poor in Cuba, you're dirt. You don't even count. Batista gets overthrown in 1959. What do you do? What do you do? Or 1958. It's New Year's 1959, I think it is. What do you do?
Well, what happened there is that like...
Don't worry about all the rest. But what do you do? What if Catalan is our example?
You're happy.
You're happy. You celebrate, right? You dance in the streets. What do you do with your flag?
Fly it.
Fly it proudly, right? And if your flag is associated with somebody you don't like, what do?
Burn.
You burn it. You change your flag, don't you? Right? And how do you feel about the people who supported the regime that oppressed you?
You want to kill them.
Yeah. You don't want them in your country anymore, do you? You want to kill them. You want to get rid of them. They're your much bigger neighbor. What do? It's your much bigger neighbor. Are you going to be able to take them out?
No.
No. So you let them stay, but you don't want anything to do with them. How do the Cubans feel about America?
Absolutely hated.
Not necessarily.
Depends.
How do the Cubans feel about Americans?
Depends which, like the upper class of the Cubans, they didn't have a problem with them.
Yeah,
They-
because
they all-
they all went to Miami, and that's
Yeah,
who's
they
running the
literally
Republican
went to
Party
work.
in Florida.
Yeah.
But how about the people on the Cuban island?
They don't like them at all.
Americans,
Yeah.
not the country, the people who come to visit.
Well, what? No.
The people
Like
on
in
the
US?
island,
No, but Americans who go to Cuba are treated well.
wonderfully. Yeah.
Yeah.
Americans who go to Cuba are treated wonderfully. They're
Yeah.
welcome. They're loved.
Yeah.
What do they think of the American government?
Hated.
They don't like it.
Right, yeah.
They don't like it. Why would you dislike the American government?
Well, because
If you were
they're
Cuban.
friends.
If you were Cuban, why would you dislike the American
Cut
government?
off.
Big-
They oppressed them for
Trade.
years.
What has been the American policy for the last 50
Trade.
years?
No trade.
Since 1959?
We are not allowed trade with.
We can't trade with Cuba. Why?
Because they're
Because
Castro.
they're our enemy.
Because we want to get rid of Castro.
Yeah.
We want now. 50 years we've been holding to that policy. Successful?
Yeah, very successful, sort of thing.
Well, not in getting
How would you
rid of
define
him.
successful? The goal was to get rid of Castro. Who's ruling Cuba?
Oh well, Castro, yeah.
Okay.
Still there.
But
The goal was to get rid of
No, no,
Cuba.
but I mean the policy is still there. Like you
Yeah, the policy is still there.
You
Absolutely.
just go to Cuba and you just see
You
it
can't go-
straight. You see
you-
the cars and it's just over.
You can't go from America. You can't go to Cuba.
And how do you get? You have to go like
Another
down.
country.
You have to go to Canada.
You have to go
Does
up
it
and
go?
then down.
Hey, you
You
go to
can't go to
Canada or you
Mexico.
go to Bahamas. But the goal of the policy was to get rid of Castro. That was the goal of the policy.
What happens? if
Get
you-
rid of Castro.
What?
We kept this policy in place for 50 years, and we're unable to get rid of Castro.
What happens if you go to Cuba as an American?
It depends upon who's in power in Washington. Right now, if you went to Cuba as an American, you could not get there from America. You would have to go to a third country that has flights to Cuba. Probably nothing.
Alright.
Although getting a visa would be very difficult. Getting into Cuba would be very difficult for us.
Into Cuba.
Would be difficult because we can't get a visa.
I'm sure. Well,
But
like
People-
well, I know,
people
I
have
know, I
done
know, I know. Like some Americans have,
have done it, yeah.
and that is so easy. Like they tell me, you just get there. They don't even sign your passport. They let you in.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. I don't
But
know.
you don't need a
But the
visa.
Cuban people love Americans.
Yeah.
The people, people to people, it works. Government to government, not so much.
Well, they love them for a reason because they're spending their money. on
Absolutely,
hotels.
absolutely. We love people who come to Kansas and spend money. Mexicans who come to Kansas and spend money. Oh, we love
I'm a
that.
loud boy, too.
We love you.
Come on, boy.
We love you, Jose.
Yeah.
Mexicans who come to Kansas and do work.
Yeah.
We love them,
Jalisco.
but we're suspicious. We're
Ah,
suspicious. This is true. This is true. We're afraid. Americans are afraid.
of what?
Brown people are going to take away our jobs and our hospitals.
Brown people?
Brown people.
Us?
No, not you.
Oh, there are a
Okay.
lot of people who think that though.
Black. He's considered brown.
No, he's not even brown. He's pink.
Ah.
He's pink too. He could pass. Okay.
Oh.
So how do ex-colonial peoples feel? Ex-colonial peoples want to assert their own culture, their own identity.
I'm
Yes,
at
sir?
12 minutes. You want me to
Okay, stop.
stop?